friends and family. Man, it's cold today. It's cold and wet and muggy, and I don't know what it is about cold days in the south and in places like Texas where it's humid, but man, the cold gets in your bones. It goes straight down. I can handle cold pretty well. Growing up in the mountains in the snow, I'm used to cold, but there's something about this cold that it gets in, man. It's rough. So not looking forward to working out in the cold warehouse today, but you know what? Sometimes it's what you got to do. It just happens. On our shipping days, it happened to fall on the cold days, and I don't get to be in my office much today. So no complaining. I love my job. I love what I do. So guys, today, first of all, I want to apologize for missing yesterday. The night before, my son decided to wake up at 2:45 a.m. and he decided to stay up until 5:15 a.m. So I made it to work. I survived, got through my day. But as far as having something to share, whew, it's funny too, the day before I was like, no excuses, right? Yeah, I had an excuse for yesterday. I just couldn't do it. That was rough. Yeah, you would have gotten zombie version of me, but that's all right. I'm not so big yet that I don't have 100,000 people bothering me if I miss a day. I have like one. So, anyways, yeah, I was out yesterday, tired, and some days you just gotta survive. You know, you just gotta get through, do the one thing you can do, and that was my day yesterday. My one thing was work, and after that, just be a parent until bedtime, blissful bedtime. So, anyways, today, I was just thinking, talking a little bit about a thing called range. So, you know, you hear range, maybe you think golf. But when you think about range sociologically, it means like a breadth of stuff, breadth of experience, breadth of knowledge, a lot of different aspects that a person has. And I've been reading this book by the same name. It's called Range, and it is fantastic. It is one of the best books I've ever read. Sociological books, scientific books. It is just, it's an amazing book, and it so captures the essence of like most human beings, of how we are and how we succeed. And the one of the reasons I love it is because my whole life, specialization has been what people have pushed. You know, whatever it is, it's pick the one thing you want to be great at, and be great at that, and let everything else fall by the wayside. And it can be a number of things. It's, you know, whatever you want to get educated on, be a historian, be a doctor, be a psychologist, and it's like pick your field and master it, and that's where success comes. The masters come from this. And what this book is about is how flawed that mentality is. It's how flawed our school system is, because our school system totally pushes specialization. It's how flawed that has happened, and how it's led to this a bunch of people who, even if they succeed despite themselves, despite being pushed to specialize and they don't, they still feel as if they did it the wrong way. And what the book is all about is how now they've studied this, and they've found that it's actually people who jump around in a bunch of different fields, who try many different things and get all kinds of different knowledge and experience, that they channel that into what they're passionate about later in life. So whether it's their 30s or 40s, even 50s, whatever it is, they channel all that experience later in life, and they actually become the masters and the experts in their craft, and the most successful. But not only the most successful, the most fulfilled people. And most people do it this way, but most people don't think that most people do it this way. In fact, in one of the parts, They studied hundreds of professionals in many different fields. They picked the best of the best, and they asked them about their journey, how they got to be the best. And what's crazy is this: they were expecting a few people, maybe 5, 10, 20% of people to say, well, I got here, but I did it unconventionally. I jumped around and I just fell into it. What they found was 90% of people became experts in their field, became successes leading their field. 90% of them got there by what we would call the unconventional route, by doing multiple different things and finally ending up in that field. And now they are the best of the best. But here's the crazy part. Out of that 90%, almost all of them said, well, this is how I did it, but it's not how you should do it. 90%. So 90% got there by doing it the way they all thought they shouldn't do it. That just was crazy. And one of the reasons I love this book is because it actually makes me feel better, because my whole life I've been like, multiple people have tried to push me into a box. You should do this, you should do that. For years I heard like people be like, you need to go back to school. You want a good job, you want to do this, you should go back to school. And I just knew school wasn't for me. I'd been through college, I didn't graduate, but I spent enough time there to know it didn't do anything for me. And it stunk. I didn't have that piece of paper, and I've lost out on jobs because I didn't have a bachelor's degree. Even if I was completely qualified or one of their best candidates, it didn't matter. I didn't have a bachelor's degree, so I was weeded out, and that sucked, honestly. But the point is, though, I knew school wasn't for me because the cost of school wasn't worth the reward for me. I spent over 3 years in college, and honestly barely learned a thing. The classes I thrived in the most were classes where I was already studying the stuff on my own. I finished, well, I didn't finish, but I left as a political science major. That's what I ended on. And once I switched to that major, I flew through my classes because I was interested in political science on my own. And I just read and everything, and so I would just run through it. But I didn't learn in the classes. I mastered the test because I'd already learned outside of the classes. So school did almost nothing for me except give me debt. And so I never wanted to go back. Now I ended up going back to a ministry school, but that was different. That was leadership development. And for those of you who know or are interested, I can't recommend Bethel School of Supernatural Ministry enough. If you just want to get closer to God and experience like the best, I believe truly the best leadership, life equipping school in the world, go to Bethel School of Supernatural Ministry. That's where I went for 2 years in Redding, California. It's amazing. And that school changed my life and helped me. But that school did nothing for my job prospects. Let me tell you that. Nothing. But it did help me in life, which is a skill you can't. That's what school should be about. It should be about training for life. Unfortunately, it's not. So, anyways, having said that, I've done things unconventionally. I've worked multiple different jobs, and now I'm 36, just turned 36. And just this year, I ended up finally in a job I absolutely love, and I really believe it's going to be long-term. But it's not just a job that's going to be long-term, it's a career. I mean, it's going to shift and shape, and who knows what it's going to look like in 10 years. But I'm finally in the career I want to be in the industry I want to be in. And it's a mixture of entertainment and business. And I love it. I absolutely love every aspect of it. Every day doesn't feel like work. But I went through multiple things to get to where I'm at. And I did it unconventionally. I've worked so many jobs. I used to be very introverted in high school. And then I worked 15 years in customer service, and I had to be extroverted to succeed, especially when I was at a restaurant. And I've just learned all these skills over the years, and I'll tell you this, I could not do my job. Like I love my job, and not only do I love it, I'm thriving in it, and I'm still learning stuff, but I also have been able to bring a ton of skills to the table that's helping my partner and my boss build this business, and I'm still learning a lot from him, but I've also been able to bring stuff to the table because of my range. And I can just see how God has, because I want to say something that I've felt very strongly from a young age, kind of like I follow open doors. I rarely try to just force something open unless I really feel I'm supposed to. And those open doors have led me into a lot of different experiences, and now I can see how I feel like God's hand has been in so much of it. And because all the skills I've been building over the years, I'm now using for something I really love and can run after. And I found my place, and it took years of experimentation, of skill building to get there. And I believe God's process is most of the time a range process. He wants us to try different things, so we can build different skills, but also so we can connect with a variety of people. In the New Testament, Paul writes that he learned to become all things to all people. So to the Jews, he was a Jew. To the Greeks, he was a Greek. And what did it mean? I took that verse to heart in my early 20s. I was reading it one day, and I just said, it stuck out to me. Sometimes a Bible verse just comes off the page to you. That Bible verse came off the page to me, and I was like, this is going to be one of my life verses. I want to be all things to all people. I want to learn how to connect with everybody. So since that time, I've had a multitude, a diversity of interests. Now, there's some things I still don't really care about. If you want to talk to me about working on cars, I just kind of glaze over. But there's some things I just can't force myself to be interested in. But here's what I also learned. I tried it, and I tried all these things, and many of them stuck. And so now, if I can't connect with you on, like a guy who's a mechanic, if I can't connect with him on being a mechanic, I can connect with him on sports or movies or music or family or politics or religion or whatever, you name it. Those are fields I have a wealth of knowledge in. History, there's tons of things that I have spent a lot of time accruing knowledge in, and because of that, I've rarely met a person in the last 5-10 years that I couldn't find a point of connection with, and that's a skill I had to develop. Now, I developed it for a lot of reasons. Like I said, that verse popped off me and stuck to me. But when I was a restaurant server for 7 years, I worked in restaurants. By having that skill, developing that skill, connecting with almost everybody, it helped my tips. It helped me be a better server. I was able to talk to people, not just serve them. Same thing in customer service places I've been. So this skill grew, and it was a range, and it's allowed me to get to where I am now. And I tell you what, knowing what I do now and being where I'm at now, I would tell everybody, don't let somebody tell you the direction you should be pointed. Now, we all need people to help us, but good advice, a good mentor is going to teach you not what to think, but how to think. Not what to process, but how to process. Not what to do, but how to approach things and how to figure out how to do them. So that's a good mentor. So that's a true leader. That's a true father, mother figure who will help you. Not somebody who's you need to do this, you need to do this. That's not helpful, because we're all different. God has made us all different. He wants us to be different. He's going to have us all process differently and grow differently. So I tell young people now all the time, when they're what should I do after high school? I'm well, unless you want to be a doctor or lawyer or something, don't go to school. Take time. Go in the workplace. Make money. Learn multiple skills. Travel. Do all the things. Get as much wealth of experience as possible, and then later know what you want to do. And I just want to tell you, now, this is something I've believed strongly for a long time now, but now the science is actually backing it up. And they're studying it, and get this book, Range. It is fantastic. It's life-changing if you really have believed the whole specialty aspect, the whole thing that's been pushed by colleges, by basically a big propaganda organizational machine that's just trying to get you to spend your money at college. Like, most people don't actually care that much about your education. There's a whole thing behind that, but I'm not going to get into that today. But here's the thing, like, you will get to where you're going if you don't give up. And don't sweat the small stuff. Like I said, I'm 36. When you're in your 20s, it feels like it's going to be forever if you're working jobs you don't like, or you're away from your dream. But here's the thing, like, I had dreams in my 20s and as teens, and some of those I had to put on the shelf for a while, and God's bringing them back. But some of those have gone and I realized, like, I don't actually want that. God gave me some stuff I thought I wanted, and it turned out I didn't want it. And so we just don't know really who we are in that time, and be okay with that. Be okay with that growth, with figuring that out. And when you figure it out, then you'll be able to run. And God is the perfect planner. He's a perfect shaper of us, perfecter of persons. And what he's doing is he's shaping all of us to be best equipped to run when we get in our lane. So use your range, trust the process, trust the range, and enjoy it. Enjoy the ride, because I've got to tell you that you will hit your spot where you're finally like, oh, it makes sense. Like, and here's the thing, like, I'm still young. I still have a lot of life ahead of me. That's the plan. That's the belief, and it's super exciting. And I'm so glad now, looking back, that I didn't listen to the people telling me to go back to school, that I didn't listen to the people who told me to pick one thing and stick with it just for security or whatever. I'm so glad I threw all that information out the window, and I'm so glad I trusted the Lord instead, and his process in my heart, his process as far as open doors he opened, and I stepped through them. I'm so glad I did that, because even though it was hard and it didn't make sense at the time, it makes sense now. So there you go, guys. God bless you, and trust the range, trust the process. It'll all work out.